This is day one of a new series I'm starting where for every batch of pasta dough that I make in this series, the amount of egg yolks are going to double every single time. So obviously I used 1 egg in this batch. The next one will have 2 and then 4 and then 8 and then so on and so on, and we'll keep it going for who knows how long. Not gonna lie, I obviously am always using a ton of eggs in all my pasta videos, so using just 1 yolk was a little bit different. This is day 3 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but for every batch I make, I have to double the amount of egg yolks I use. We're up to using 4 egg yolks for this batch, which isn't too bad, but I am a little worried about how far this series is gonna go. I decided to add tomato paste to this batch of dough just to kind of switch things up a little bit and have some fun. It turned out really well. I was happy with it. Let me know down in the comments how many days of this series you think I'm gonna last. Right now, I think I'm gonna make it at least 7 or 8 days, but we'll see. The numbers are gonna get pretty high pretty fast. This is day 4 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time. We've got 8 yolks today, which is definitely manageable, but I have a feeling this series is about to get a little out of hand. I decided to turn this batch of dough into one of my all-time favorite pasta shapes, and it's also one of the first shapes I ever learned how to make. These are called farfalle, and I think they are super underrated. Make sure you hit that follow so you don't miss out on day 5. This is day 5 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time, and today we finally made it to 16 yolks. So far, I'd say this series is going pretty well. I've definitely made pasta with a lot more than 16 egg yolks before, so it's not too bad. For my next batch of pasta, I have to use 32 egg yolks, so I want to ask you, drop down in the comments what shape of pasta you think I should turn that batch into, and also, if you're not following yet, go hit that follow. This is day 6 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time. Today, I had 32 eggs to use, and again, I've done way more than 32 before, so this was super manageable. I was trying to decide what to roll this shape into, and I had some basil in my fridge, so I decided to laminate some basil in between 2 sheets of dough. I've done this before with other herbs, and I always love the look it gives to the pasta. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do with the pasta on day 7, but for now, I gotta go to the store to grab some more eggs. This is day 7 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time, and today we made it to 64 yolks to use. I've done batches of dough this large before, but it's definitely getting pretty big for sure. Kneading this ball of dough was for sure an arm workout. My forearms were burning when I was done. I'm still not sure how far in this series I'm gonna go, but I've decided that for these larger batches of doughs coming up, I'm gonna try and take the pasta, cook it, put it into little containers, and take it to homeless shelters or hand it out to people that could use a warm meal. This is day 8 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time, and this is when it's starting to get pretty big because this was 128 yolks. This is definitely close to the largest batch of dough I've made by hand before, and again, it was quite the workout. It took me so long to knead the dough, I actually ran out of time to roll it out and cut it, so tomorrow I'll roll it out, cook it off, and toss it with a simple tomato sauce. And then, as I said on day 7, from there I'll take the pasta dishes to some local shelters that I know can give it to anyone who needs a meal. This is day 9 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time, and this is officially the largest batch I've ever made, 256 yolks. This was quite the process making this batch. It took me a lot longer than I planned and gave me quite the arm workout. I ended up having to break it up into 3 balls of dough and then combine them all at the end just to make it a lot easier on myself. Over the past couple of days, I was able to connect with quite a few local charities and shelters, so all this pasta will be rolled out and cooked tomorrow and then distributed to be donated on Wednesday. This is day 10 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time, and today's batch had 512 egg yolks. I ended up having to put another table up against my usual table, but even with that, I was a little nervous it wouldn't be big enough. Thankfully, it ended up working out. I decided to break up this batch into 3 balls of dough, but it was still an insane arm workout. As I've been doing with these huge batches of dough, tomorrow I'll roll it all out and cut it, and then I'll cook it up and distribute batches of dough. Tomorrow I'll roll it all out and cut it, and then I'll cook it up and distribute it to some different shelters here in Pittsburgh on Monday. I just want to say thanks for all the support on this series. It really feels incredible to be able to give back with my pasta. This is day 11 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time, and today was a big one, 1,024 egg yolks. I've got to give a shout out to Outreached Arms here in downtown Pittsburgh for letting me use their kitchen for this batch, and to them and a couple of my friends for helping me prep and knead this pasta. I figured now is also a good time to answer probably the most commonly asked questions I've gotten. First, all this pasta is being donated both to Outreached Arms as well as a couple other spots here in Pittsburgh. As for the egg whites, those are all being given away as well to a bunch of friends and literally anyone who wants them. There's no waste of ingredients whatsoever. Next step, as usual, I'm going to roll out and cut all this pasta. Some of it will be cooked and sauced and donated, and then some of it's going to be donated just as fresh pasta. Stay tuned. This is day 12 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time, and today we made it to 2,048 yolks, so I had to bring in some help for this one. Nick showed up with a small... I tell you I was nervous for this egg pour, I mean it. We spent nearly 4 hours cracking and separating all these eggs. What if we dropped the bowl? What if we poured the eggs on the floor? I was so terrified, but it came out pretty good. Day 14 of my series of making a batch of pasta dough, but the egg yolks double every time, and for this batch, I figured I could use the help of Mr. Beast. So we decided to skip 8,000 eggs and get right to 10,000. This was by far the biggest video I've ever attempted, and I knew I was going to need a ton of help. Happy Egg donated all 10,000 eggs, and I was able to get RCN to donate nearly 600 pounds of flour. Truff donated all the pasta sauce for part 2, and Arco Baleno came in clutch with sending down some of the best pasta machines in the world for us to use. I had a huge crew of helpers that worked non-stop to crack and separate all of these eggs. We even had to rent a refrigerated tractor trailer to make our lives a lot easier. All of the eggshells from this batch were taken care of and composted, and we were able to donate all of the excess egg whites as well. Stay tuned for part 2 to see how we donated all of this pasta, but here's a little sneak peek.